go ahead and we'll be looking at Father's Day message today. We'll be looking in Genesis 22, verses 1 through 14. And I entitled this, How Far Do I Go? As a father, how far do I go? And if you're looking at Genesis 22 right now, you may see a little subheading there that says the sacrifice or offering of Isaac. And I'm sure you're probably wondering, why on earth did he pick this for a Father's Day passage and a message? You know, I understand some fathers get to the point where they say, I brought you into this world, I can take you out. You know, Abraham is kind of a story about that. No. Why is this Abraham and Isaac a Father's Day message? It does seem strange because it's about Abraham taking his son up to a mountain. As God said, if you love me and you have faith in me and you trust me and you obey me, you'll do what I say, then I want you to go kill your son. Sacrifice him to me. Well, what this passage is telling us is about being a father. Fathers who are committed to God will go to any distance for God. And that's what this passage shows us. It's not about Abraham taking his son and offering him up. That's not what it's about. It's about Abraham obeying God fully for his faith, his obedience. And that affects his family and how he is as a father. Godly fathers, we are examples to our children. We want them to commit fully to God, to place him above everything else in their lives. We have to be the example that we will place God above everything in our lives, even our own family. As men of God, we lead by example and put everything else second to God, even our own children. And that's what Abraham is doing here. God promised him a son, an inheritance, a nation. He finally has the son that God desired. You know, he had another son, Ishmael. That was not who God wanted him to have a child with. It was Ishmael, with Hagar, and he had Ishmael. God didn't want that. He had Isaac in mind. Not that he didn't care for Ishmael, not that he didn't love Ishmael, not that he didn't bless Ishmael, but that was Abraham's plan, not God's. But Abraham finally gets his son that's been promised to him, a son that he loves so much, and then God goes, do me a favor. I want you to prove that you love and obey me above even the child that I promised. And Abraham went, I do. I will prove that to you. That's what makes us fathers, is putting God above everything else, even our own families, even our own children. What this passage is showing us is a father that puts God first and foremost. That God is the most important thing in our lives. Above ourselves, our work, our desires, even our own family. This is how all people are to regard God. This is how everybody on this planet should be looking at God first. He's the first and foremost important thing in our lives. As fathers, the heads of our houses, the leaders of our family, we place God first and trust and obey him. Even if at the moment we don't understand what he's telling us to do. That's the mark we leave on our children. That is what makes men a father. Faith, trust, obedience to God above anything else. We are an authority under the authority. And that is what molds our children, encourages them, teaches them. We can't say, obey God. Obey your mother and your father, and then not follow through as an example and obey God. So today we celebrate fathers that are obedient and asking, how far do I go? How far are we going as fathers? This is not to say nobody here is doing that. Godly men do that. We go as far as necessary, as far as we have to, as far as God commands and demands of us. And that's how we raise our families. So we're here to celebrate that. Fathers, you put God first and foremost in your lives, and our children will see him. So I'll go ahead. We're only looking at 14 chapters today. I know you're going, whoo! And we will get to, I know we started on our prayer last week. We're going to get to that next week, but I wanted to finish that sermon. I wanted to make sure I gave that recognition to fathers today. So 14 verses is all we're looking at today. I'm going to go ahead and I'll read them for you now. Starting in verse 1. Now it came about after these things that God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. He said, Take now your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I tell you. So Abraham rose early in the morning and saddled his donkey and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son. And he split wood for the burnt offering, and arose and went to the place which God had told him. On the 3rd day Abraham raised his eyes and saw the place from a distance. Abraham said to his young men, Stay here with the donkey, and I and the lad will go over there, and we will worship and return to you. Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son. And he took in his hand the fire and the knife. So the two went and walked on together. Isaac spoke to Abraham his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, my son. And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham said, God will provide for himself the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. So the two of them walked on together. And they came to the place of which God had told them, and Abraham built the altar there and arranged the wood, and bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Abraham stretched out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. He said, Do not stretch out your hand against the lamb, and do nothing to him. For I now know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. Then Abraham raised his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horn. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the place of his son. Abraham called the name of that place, The Lord will provide, as it is said to this day, In the mount of the Lord it will be provided. So the story of Abraham and the boy. I asked Ozzy last night, Hey, what passage do you think I'm going to go over? And he said, Yeah, it's Abraham and, that kid, the boy. That's what we always call him, the boy. See, Abraham and Isaac, offering up his son to God. So what does this have to do about saying about a father going to great lengths? It says everything. Look at verse 1 here. God tested Abraham, and he said, Abraham, and Abraham said, Here I am. Here I am. The response to God. Godly fathers heed the call of God at all times. We put him first. When God calls, we answer. The Bible tells us there's a hierarchy in creation, in the family that God created. Men are the head of the house. If you want to use the term king of the castle, okay, fine. But godly men understand what it truly means to be a king. Kings only remain on their throne if they're wise, if they're benevolent, if they serve the people. And they only stay on that throne when they respond, when they heed the people's call. Tyrant kings and their rule do not last long. Yeah, every once in a while I get a big head and I stand and go, Yes, I am the king of this castle. Look at my kingdom. Man, somebody usurp me, please. Yes, but we're kings, sure, but we're under the king. Godly men understand they are kings placed by the king. So if you want to be the king of the castle, you're placed there. How about we just be heads of the house of leaders, examples, husbands and fathers? It is not a mantle we seek. Godly men do not seek it. It's a burden of responsibility. And they're there to serve their family. Godly men serve their children. Now that doesn't mean we're buddies and we're friends. We treat them as equals. No, we're parents first. I always tell my kids, I want to have a good relationship with them. I love doing stuff with my children. We love doing it. We love being on friendly terms with them. But my kids know I am dad first. So we can go out hiking and hunting together, but remember, Dad's got a big foot and a big gun. I'm dad first. I have to serve my children. We model our lives after Jesus Christ. Oh, what a friend I have in Jesus. Yes, that's great. Jesus is our friend, but he's our Savior and our Lord first, isn't he? Such as a father, parent, head of the household, leader first. And godly fathers not only serve their family, they serve God first. God, family. Now, how I always did it when I was in the military is God, family, country. That's where I rank everything. Serve God first, then my family. If I can't take care of my family, I can't serve my country. We are created as providers, and often we get so wrapped up in providing and being that head of the household, the king. We have so many voices going on. Work and other responsibilities calling out for us. Sometimes we miss that call to God, right? You ever been in a call center? Phones going off the hook. You can miss the call sitting right there on your own desk. So much going on. And as providers, we're trying to run around and do these things and take care of our family and serve. Trying to be the father and the husband. We're trying to be that provider, the protector, the teacher, the instructor. Now, that's not to say that we don't have help. That's why God said, hey, look, I gave you something beautiful, one to look at, something beautiful to help you out with. Moms do a great job too. They're part of that family unit. That's how it is, a mother and a father. But we sometimes get so busy we don't hear God's call, and we can miss it. But here, God called to Abraham, and immediately said, here I am. So as godly fathers, we don't let all these distractions get to us, because when we hear God's call, we go, hey, stop. I got to answer this. And we always answer God's call first. It's exactly what he did. Abraham, yep. Right away. And you look at verse 3, verse 3 talks about, take your son, and I want you to go up, your only son whom you love. I know you love him. This is the son that you've been promised. I know you love him. And I'm going to take, and I want you to take him up there, and you're going to offer him as a burnt offering. Now, if I was Abraham and I was answering the call, I'd be like, yeah, I'm sorry, God, I think there's a bad connection on your end. You said, what? I had to do that whole circumcision thing, and now you want me to do what? No, what does Abraham do? Verse 3. So Abraham rose early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and he left. Immediate obedience to God's call and instruction. Right there. You want me to kill my son? I would have been having to kill. Remember how he argued with God over Sodom and Gomorrah? Well, how about if I could find 100 men, 70 men, 50 men, 25? He argued with God over a city, and yet he didn't do anything but get up early in the morning and go out. Kind of shows you the journey of Abraham on his faith. I have immediate obedience to God. I didn't trust God. I had faith in him, but I didn't trust he knew what he was doing, so I had to keep getting involved. But by now, I'm totally trusting God. If he says go do this, I am going to go do that. It's not an easy job being a dad. We're created to be leaders and providers, instructors. We're responsible for our family and their faith. Like I said, it's not to say that others aren't there. They're not an important role either. But we talk about moms on Mother's Day. This is Father's Day. No, it's a team effort. But we're supposed to be the leaders. And we lead not by bullying or commanding or demanding. We lead, and leading is by example. God will hold us accountable not only for us, but for our family. Did we know that as men, as fathers? I am responsible for my family as well as for myself. I have to go before God, and God's going to say, is your family here with you today? And if I haven't done my job as a father, now here's the thing, they are responsible for their own lives. But I'm responsible for teaching. All I can do is give them information, and if they take it and use it, fine. If they take it and don't use it, that's fine. But I can stand before God and say, they're not here, but I've done my job. How far are you willing to go? her family members, teaching, instructing, leading by example, praying for them. Most important thing is being that example to be obedient to God. Following God, hearing his call, immediately responding to his command. Best teacher is example, our personal example. And that's what Abraham is doing here. We don't wait to do what God tells us. We don't go, God, I will get to you. Thank you. I answered the call right away. I know you want me to go do this. But man, I've got work. I'm so beat right now. I'm so tired. I've got all this lawn work I've got to do. I've got to pay bills. Then my wife wants me to take all the trees from the backyard and move them to the front yard for some reason. I don't know why. Then I'll get to you, God. I'm sure Abraham had a lot of things to do. Probably the biggest one was explaining to his wife Sarah why he was taking Isaac away. Where are you guys going, Abraham? Camping? Well, how do you explain that one? I'm sure he had a lot of things to do. But he acted through obedience. Immediately. And that's, as fathers, we do that. That's the example. We hear God, we follow God. We don't be that example and show our kids, no, you can wait. God can wait. Actually, everything else can wait except God. So Abraham went and did that. So he gathered everything up, rose and went to the place which God told him. Verse 5, Abraham said to his young men, stay here with the donkey, and I and the lad, or boy, will go over there and we will worship and return to you. We will worship and return to you. We do what God tells us, even if we or our family do not fully understand why. Now, Abraham's not technically lying here. He's not technically lying. He doesn't technically lie to Isaac in a little bit either. He is going to go worship God. He's technically telling the truth. He's going to go and sacrifice his son in obedience to God. Abraham didn't understand why. He had no idea what was going through God's mind, I'm sure, because who can understand the mind of God? He had just finally come to a place in his life where he would trust God fully and obey. He just wasn't going to fully confide that into Isaac quite yet. Oh, we're going to take the boy. I'm not going to tell you guys. I'm not going to tell Isaac what we're actually going to do. Because, hey, sport, you're going to go die for God. Just cannot come out very easily, does it? So we're going to go worship God. Yeah, they are. But they don't understand. He didn't fully understand what form that would take, except that he had to sacrifice Isaac. Now we find out that the worship was something different, right? When we get to the end, we find out he doesn't have to sacrifice Isaac. There's a ram caught in the thicket, and he's able to use that for the sacrifice. So that's good. But God had already planned for that. God already had that in the plan. Abraham didn't know it. So he went along, and he was going to fully trust in God. Abraham had always had faith in God, but didn't trust him, and that's what got him into situations. At this point in life, he had grown in his faith to fully let God control his life. God had full authority over him. He trusted him, had faith in him. If God says something, God says jump, I'm just going to start jumping. He'll let me know how high I get and when to stop. God is in full control of authority and creation over all life. We need to let him have that full control over our lives. We have faith in him, we have obedience for him, and we might not understand why we are doing something at that moment. I don't know why you want me to sacrifice my kid, but I'm going to go and do as you tell me. Because I fully let you be in control of my life. I don't get this. I don't understand. Hindsight, I'll probably look back, and I'll get it. But I'm going to do what you say. Abraham was going as far as it took. How far did Abraham go? Pretty far. Verse 8. Verse 7 through 8. I'm sorry. Isaac spoke to Abraham, his father, and said, "My father." And Abraham said, "Here I am, my son." Here we go again. "Here I am." Abraham responds. This time, who's he responding to? His family, right? His son. We see the echo of verse 1. We respond immediately to God's call, but we also respond immediately to our family. We first respond to God, as Abraham did, then we respond to our family. "Yes, God, here I am." "Yes, son, here I am." We place God's call above even our own family. That's how far we go. But when our family calls, after we responded to God, we respond to them. We never place them above God, but we never place them above anything else. Or below anything else, I'm sorry. We never place anything else above them. So God, family, everything else. Here Isaac has a question. Where's the sacrifice? Doesn't he ask that? "Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb?" Something's starting to creep through Isaac's head here. And Abraham responds to him. We are commanded to be in a role of leadership. Now, we are an authority, but we are under that authority, as I've said. We follow the commands of those above us, and sometimes we don't understand those commands, but we are ordered to follow them, right? Military, law enforcement, sure, we're given commands, right? Sometimes we don't get it, do we? I've given commands. I've given from my commander, and I tell my troops, "I need you to go do this." I don't want to hear, "But would." I don't have the time right now to tell you, "I need you to trust me and just go do it." I would always tell my troops, "I will tell you later, but trust me, if I tell you to go do something, that means I just don't have the time to explain it to you. Get it done, and then when I got some time, I'll explain why I had you do that." But sometimes we don't understand those orders, but we still follow them. You're commanded to be in that role. There are times we are obeying God's commands and the will for our lives, but we don't fully understand them. We just commit. And how on earth are we supposed to explain something we don't understand to our family? That seems like an impossible job. It doesn't. We're following God. We don't understand truly why, but we know we're being obedient. We know it's right to follow Him. And then when our family says, "Why are you doing that?" we just sit there going, "Because God told me to." How do we explain that? It's almost like when our kids keep asking us those questions that we don't have answers to. When they're little, "Daddy, why does this happen? Why does that? Why does this go like this? How does an airplane fly?" "Magic, I don't know." It seems like a cheat answer. Everything's magic, right? That's the answer. And when it comes to God, it seems like a cheat answer to say, "Because I'm following you." But that's the truth. Kids, honey, I don't understand. I don't understand why I'm doing this. It's God. Following Him. Magic. We may not fully understand the reason we are following God on a particular path at that moment. We only know to trust Him and trust being led by Him. Now, we need to explain to our kids why we are doing that. And as I said, it seems a cheat answer, but they need to know that we're following God above even our own understanding. But what if we can't answer the constant why? We go to God's Word, we pray. And you know what? Even that may not give us a satisfying answer. Why am I doing this, Lord? Why am I sacrificing my kid? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? I don't understand why, Lord. We're asking, but why? All we know is we're fully committed to God and obeying Him. And that's the answer we give to our families. But we need to sit there and tell them, "I don't understand why. I just know this is something that I'm supposed to be doing." We don't just bellow out because I said so. Don't we get yes and heads nodded? But why? Because I said so. Well, there's two problems wrong with that when we're following God. It's wrong for two reasons. One, because we're getting angry and we're becoming that tyrant, that dictator, and that demanding personality because I said so and I'll shut it. But second, I didn't say so. God said so. So why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Not because I said so. No, because God said so. And I'm following. And that's the example. That's what he's saying right here. When he says, God will provide, verse 8, God will provide for himself the lamb for burnt offering, my son. I don't know why we're doing this, but I trust that God will provide what is needed at the right time. I trust God is leading me down this path, or in this case, up the path to the mountain to where an altar led. I don't understand, but let me tell you something. I'm following God. That's all I know. I tell my kids sometimes, I don't know why I do half the things I do. It seems ridiculous. It seems crazy. But why do I make these decisions for my family? Because I'm being led by God. I don't know where the path ends. I will lead us on that path. Okay, if God's telling me to take this path and I don't see an ending, I'm just going to be out in front. I'm not hiding behind my children and my family, waiting for a snake. And Joe, my wife's scared of snakes, so she sees one. She throws the kid in front of it and takes off running. She sacrifices the kid. She takes this story to heart, people. But we need to be that leader, that example. Answer the call of God, responding to him immediately, and then explaining it to our families. Why responding to that call? God may give us the information. He might. Why would you do this? Because of this. Sometimes we don't know why. And we need to sit down with our family and say, I don't fully understand this, but I trust God. You don't have to trust me. Trust God. And that I'm following him. That's that example that godly fathers are. We don't understand him. We're not going to understand him. We're finite creatures. We are worms compared to the intellect and all-knowing power of our Father who knows all things. Can't even begin to understand the why of God. But we know he's holy and he has a plan. We trust that he will lead us down the right path as long as we commit to him in full obedience. We become that example of faith in God. Now, if you look at verses 9 to 10, here you go. Here's the meat and potato of the story. They came to the place they were supposed to go. They built this altar. All the time, I'm sure Isaac's going, okay, where's the lamb? Now Dad wants me to try on these ropes to see if they fit. What's going on? He binds his son. That had to be an interesting conversation. How tough was that going to be to Abraham? He's actually, it's not like he's clubbing his son over the back of the head. No, he's binding him. How hard the thing must have that been? I remember the first time I took her to the emergency room, my daughter. She sliced open her ear. By accident, playing hide and seek, had a little nail or something like that, sliced it open. Well, she'd been there before, but this one really hurt me. And she had to get stitches. The first time she ever had anything like stitches. And she's being held down, and I've got to hold her. I've got to help hold her down because she's in pain. And she's moving. But that's a good thing. It's not like I was there to sacrifice her in the operating room. I'm there to help her get hurt or healed. And I'm holding her down. And I just remember she's looking at me. I'm being a good girl. I'm a good girl. And I was like, oh, you are. This has got nothing to do with that. But that was painful just to have to hold her and constrict her so she didn't move. So that they could work on her. Now imagine Abraham knowing that he's going to kill his son and binding him. That's the commitment that he had to God. It probably broke his heart. This is my son, I love him. I want you to, are you keying in on some of the key words here? Your son, your only son, the one whom you love. Are you keying in on some of those words here? He stretched out his hand to take the knife and slay his son. We follow God. And sometimes it looks like what we're doing when we're our families, doesn't it? When we follow God, and we're obeying and responding to that call, and we're getting ready to go down that path that God leads us, and we know we are following, we have hit our knees in prayer, we've looked into his word, we've talked to God about it, and he goes, yes, I want you to do this. And we sometimes will look back and go, this is going to hurt my family. My example, we all know it. I left the military, could have stayed in 5 more years and retired. Guaranteed paycheck the rest of my life. I left at 15 years to follow God. Because God said, I want you to become a pastor. I want you to go to seminary. I want you to follow me into ministry. And I'm like, okay, God, in 5 years, I got to retire. Got to get my paycheck. Nope. I look back now and I think, I'm glad I followed God because I'm 42 now. Do I really want to be starting 4 or 5 years of school now? It was bad enough at 35. And God also knew some things about me. Maybe I would have just sat around on my rear collecting my paycheck and not doing what He commanded me to do. But I had to leave the military, and I told my family. And my wife was there, looking in my eyes, holding my hands with a big, not going to happen. What are we supposed to do for money? Well, over time, I talked her into it. Actually, I didn't talk her into it. You know what she told me? She says, I don't trust your plan. I trust God's plan. And even I was leery about it. Even I was like, no. Because it's going to hurt my family. But I had to step out, take that chance. That I knew God was going to catch up. That was a hard decision. As a father, we go all the way, go to the furthest distance in obedience and faith, even if it breaks our hearts. And that is the legacy, the leadership, the example we live for our kids. When we know we've done right, but our heart is shattered into a million pieces, we know that's going to leave a lasting effect on our children. But God yells out, what? Verse 12, do not stretch out your hand against the lad. Leave the boy alone. Do nothing. Stop. Halt. What is it in Spanish? Alto? 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 Okay. Alto? I guess. Stop. God will explain, but He wants trust and obedience first. God wants us to follow Him and do obedience. I don't have to explain anything. Like I said, we all have that example. We may not have time to explain our orders to our subordinates in the military, in the police, and what we do in our job. Just go and do it. God doesn't want to sit down and go, okay, you're going to obey me. No. I'm giving you a list of reasons to do it. Not obey me, a list to do it. Because sometimes we'll still argue with that reason, right? God wants faith and obedience. Why? Because we can't possibly understand His mind. Now, He does explain things to us. What does He do here? He explains to Abraham, for now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. That's what this was about. Were you going to put your son above me? No, you didn't. But sometimes it doesn't explain. He just needs us to obey, because we cannot understand that mind of God. Just trust me, I'm God. I'm him. I'm the guy with the big sombrero. I'm the main guy. Trust in me. And we trust in Him because He'll never do anything bad to us, will He? Test us, yes. Tempt us, no. Right? He will never tempt us. He will never lead us down a path that will get us into trouble. He will never lead us to sin. He will never lead us to bad things. He only leads us to goodness, holiness, and righteousness. Do not stretch out your hand. What's interesting is when He calls down to him, verse 11, He says, Abraham, Abraham. And immediately, what does Abraham do? Here I am. See that response again? Abraham, here I am. Abraham, here I am. Abraham, here I am. Call from God, call from his family, and call from God. Immediate responses to the ones we serve. And I bet Isaac's going, whoo, that knife got close. I bet Isaac's thinking, I'm glad Dad listens. He was there. He was right there ready to do it. And God said, stop. And immediately he stopped. That's what happens when we attune ourselves to God. And no matter what we're distracted by, we will always hear him. Even when we're fully committed to him, right? Sometimes we get so involved. My kids will tell you this. I can even get so involved with getting ready for a sermon, or being a hospital chaplain, or visiting people, or talking to people, or praying, that I'll forget even God. Aren't we guilty of that sometimes? We throw ourselves into the ministry so much that God's going, hello, I'm the one that told you to go do this. But he stopped Abraham. I want to make a little point here. One of the hardest things to do is to stop when you're fully committed. I used to be law enforcement, military police. It's part of our, basically it's a SWAT team within the military police, or a quick reaction force, if you will. And I was usually a sniper. And there were times that I was told to go on a certain building, to go on a certain post, and I was supposed to watch for a target. September 11th, for example. We actually had operatives from Al-Qaeda around our base. During riots, we would have people outside throwing things against our fence, banging on them with, on our gates, banging on them with sticks, and throwing stuff into our base. And I was told, draw me up. And I would have them in my sight, and ready to shoot. Fully committed. Because when you're in the military, when you're a cop, what is it? The minute you bring that weapon up, you're committed, aren't you? This is your safety, not the little button. When you pull it up, you are now committed. I was trained, when I pull up and you're in my sights, that person's dead. Already. I'm committed to pulling that trigger. The hardest thing to do is not take a shot. Sparing a life is harder than taking a life. They're already gone. It takes that much. To pull away from it is very, very tough when you fully committed to it. And all I'm waiting is to hear a command. It's a very hard thing. It weighs on your shoulder because it's already done in your mind. Abraham, it was already done in his mind. Fully committed. You know how hard it was to stop? Because he was 100% committed to that. But even in that, he listened for the command that said, no, don't take it. And he listened because you can be so fully committed on what you're doing. It's so hard to pull away. But we need to keep our ears open for that command from God that says, stop! My kids will tell you, Daddy's getting hard to hear. So let it never be commanded of me to take the kids up to the mountaintop. I may not hear God. Are you sure, God? I got him right on the edge. You sure? I came all this way, right? I can do it. What did God give him? He said, verse 13, 14, we'll end up. Abraham raised his eyes and looked, and behold, a burnt offering in place of the son. A ram caught in the thicket. We see that Abraham went to the furthest distance, fully committed as the knife stroke comes down. Listened to God, was obedient, opened himself up to it, and stopped. He went as far as God told him to be obedient. See, he didn't know God was going to stop him. He had to commit fully to it. He didn't go up and thinking, well, God's going to stop me. No, God wants me to do this. And he went to the furthest distance, breaking his heart the entire way. That is the mark of a father, that we respond and obey, and we leave that example for our children each and every day. And I know each father in here has done that. We wake up in the morning, we pray for our kids, and our heart breaks. We go to bed, we pray for our kids, and God heals it. We see the symbolism of the ram, though, don't we? I told you to keep an ear open for those words. What's the ram? Sure, it's the offering for Isaac, right? But it's also Christ. Here's your gospel message for the day. Abraham, sacrifice your one and only son, whom you love. But instead, God gives a ram, and the symbolism isn't lost on us. He was the offering provided instead of us. Jesus was. He died on the cross. We should be lying on that altar, every single one of us. We should be lying on that offering because we've sinned against our Father. He's been the greatest example, the most loving example, the most just example, the most righteous example. We have to follow him. What are the wages of sin? Death. Every single one of us should be on that altar, but instead, there's a random thicket behind us. Jesus, our God, our Father, the greatest example, going to the greatest lengths, who comes down to this earth, lives among us, his children, his heart breaking as he goes to the greatest lengths of brutality and torture to be put on a cross, to die in our place. And our Father said, "Here I am. Look at me on this cross. I am responding to your needs, to your call. The need for salvation and restoration and eternal life, so that I will never lose you again." God says, "Here I am." You do not understand why I am doing this now, but you will understand eventually. You'll understand that I'm doing it for you. It may hurt me, it may hurt you, but I'm doing it for you. You'll understand when we're in glory together. Here I am, your Father, who loves you, who leads by example. So as a father today, ask yourself how far we're going to go. How far do we go for our children? I know as fathers we do. We follow God, so we know how far we're going. Every day we get up, we look out of the world and we go, "Yep, there's the horizon, I guess I'm going here." As fathers, we do that. We climb the highest mountains, build the biggest altar, and commit to what God has commanded. We lead by example and inspire our children to follow not just us, but the Lord. We place God first and foremost in our life, even above the little ones that have celebrated this day for us, that made us have this day. We place God above them. Because, why do we do that? Why do we place God above our own family, our own children? So when we follow him, we love him. He shows us love, and then we show love back to our families. By following God, we are doing right, and we are doing right by our families. For God so loved the world that he gave himself to us. For we love God so much, we give ourselves to him. By giving ourselves to him, we give it to our families. We serve God and we serve them. And we're also going to show that we can go the distance for them. We all do. So fathers today, don't stop. Don't stop going the distance. I don't care how old our children get. We're always going to look down the road and go, "I guess I need to keep going that far from them." Maybe all we can do at a certain point is hit our knees. But you know that's a pretty far distance too. So we keep praying for them. Keep loving them. Keep inspiring them. Keep living that example for them. And that's the mark we're going to leave on them.